Welcome back, everybody. What's up? This is Herschel from High School Top 200. Welcome back to another segment of this Top 5. We're going through all the positions. If this is the first one that you're watching, you've got 1 to 8 to look forward to because I've already done those. So go have a look at all the other ones that I've done. Obviously, the number 8 is the other one I just finished. Really good response back for people that think I'm wrong and they've told me reasons why, which I really love. I love having discussions about players that they've seen or they've asked why one player was better than another, like especially within their region, because most people only know people within their region. And so I like those kind of discussions with people where they give me their reasons, and obviously I don't get it right all the time. These are all just my opinions, and I tell everybody all the time it's just my opinions. My opinions just are based off a lot of homework, that's all. So and plus nobody else does this. Nobody else does this around the country. Right now we're heading into the backs. We're finally at number 9s, getting our halfbacks together. I think there's a lot of I think with the other positions, and this is all honesty, and this is all the pretty much out there on the table, is that we did not have a good group of halfbacks in the country. We did not have a strong group of halfbacks where it became difficult to really split people apart. I don't think there's any real debate over who the top guy is. Maybe when you get to number 5, that's about it. But all the other guys, I feel like, are heavy favorites, and are guys that are outright favorites. And so it's going to be interesting to see what everyone thinks. Right. So this year it just wasn't a good class of halfbacks. There were the elites or the real strong ones, and then there was kind of everybody else. So we'll start with probably the most obvious guy, and that's Sam Howling from Calston Boys at halfback. He's my number 1. Bradley Campbell is the other one from St. John's Hastings is my second one. Year 12 Ben Donovan from St. Bede's is my third one. Will Thornley is from Nelson College is my fourth one, and then Cohen Brady Latham is my fifth one from Pukekohe, and that one might be one that people want to talk about, but unless you go and see what he's done, then you probably won't have a lot of questions about how good he actually is. So we'll start off with Sam Howling. I'm not too sure if there's any real reason to sort of explain myself on this. I think it's kind of obvious, He's just got better passing than everybody. He's just a lot smarter. He's just got a lot more flow than everybody. He's just got a stronger pass, good spiral, makes great decisions. Fast at organising, really good at organising. That's the reason why Calston Boys is the number 1 team in the country, is because of him. Just the way that he sets things up, he's just really good at it, and even on defense, he's actually pretty good on defense too. Like, you can't really, I think sometimes when you talk about halfbacks and defense, there's not really that much discussions about it. Folau Fakatava is probably the best halfback that I've seen defensively from Hastings Boys, and he's playing for the Highlanders. Harrison Levin was from Hamilton Boys, was another one as a halfback that I thought was really solid when it came to defense. There were guys like that. Carlos Price was probably another one too that I really liked from St. Kitts when it came to defensive halfbacks. But yeah, there's not really a lot of guys defensively that you can really sort of, I guess, pinpoint when it comes to defense. And Sam Howell's kind of like that too. So it's like, you know, he defends because he's pretty tall. Like, he's a taller halfback. You know, he's a taller halfback. He's pretty long, and so like, you know, he's not the short guy that's on the field kind of stuff. And so, I mean, like, you know, he doesn't struggle. That if that's something, he doesn't struggle. So he's my number one from Kelson Boys. Bradley Campbell is probably another one. And when you're at a school like St. John's Hastings, where they don't have consistent strong talent all the time. They have like players, individual players that go there that are really, really good, and that really stand out. But they won't have a collective good team all the time. That's something it just kind of lines up. And this year, you know, Bradley pretty much had to cover halfback and first five. I'm not too sure if at one time I saw him out in the second five, maybe. But like, he was just one of those guys, and I just think that he's such a tidy player. And I think this is kind of where you got to separate some of these guys in terms of how a player, how somebody plays, and how somebody plays with a how someone plays with like a strong forward pack in front of them, and how someone plays when there's a forward pack that just can't really win their own ball kind of thing most of the time. St. John's Hastings to me was a 45-50 minute kind of team, and that's as long as they could hold. And they were a team that was kind of almost there, and then it just fell to pieces. And when it fell to pieces, it pretty much fell to pieces. But they really did hold on a lot. They really did hold on, and it was good rugby when they played good rugby. When it fell to bits, it just fell to bits. And then pretty much, to me, you know, Kitty and Bradley were the ones that held that up. And Bradley, I think, if he had a forward pack like Kelson Boys, or even Hastings Boys, you know, Hamilton Boys, if he had a forward pack like that, just a big boy forward pack that gave him a lot of time and space, he'll be able to create so much more. You know, and so I think about it in those kind of terms, and he would have been that guy that I think will just flip and dazzle people with if he had the right forward pack in front of him. And people could just be saying, well, that's every halfback. And it's like, well, no, it's not. Not all the time. Not all the time. Because then you can tell by the way that first fives reach for the ball. Sometimes the ball doesn't make it there. The distance is a bit too far. Like, one thing that I've seen that's frustrating a lot is the balls that fall short. Where it causes a knock on by the first five, and sometimes it's like, well, this is a distance that I need to stand at for us to get a front foot, and if you can't make it there, how is that my fault? I have to, you know, we have to sort of move in just for you. It's just like, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't be there halfback then if you can't make that pass, and a lot of guys are like that even with a good forward pack in front of them. Bradley, I think would be awesome with an awesome forward pack in front of him. Ben Donovan, the only year 12 on this list, I just think is exceptional. And the game that I saw him in live against St. Peter's, I saw what he was trying to do, and he just couldn't do it. That forward pack by St. Peter's was just solid, and they were just too physical. But what I could see from him and what he was trying to do, I was just like, yeah, okay, that's pretty impressive. And then, you know, seeing him throughout the year online and watching him, you know, the live streams of him, I just thought, man, this guy was a bit different to everybody else. And that's the reason why I put him into this top five. He actually got a lot bigger from last year to this year too. like sometimes, and he started as a year 11, and you kind of expect them to grow a little bit, but he actually got a lot bigger. And he's really started to really thicken out. So it's gonna be cool to see what it turns out like next year. That'll be it'll be fun to watch him play next year. Will Thornley, who is from Nelson College, probably another guy that had a very, very, very solid forward pack in front of him, and there's a reason why they were so good this year. And every time I saw him play, he just always performed. He was such a good leader on the field. Such a good player, just getting the ball out to where it needed to be. He found his runners all the time, which was like something that I like watching halfbacks do. I like watching halfbacks get into the game, go in there, fetch the ball, and that's kind of how he was. I liked sort of the lanes that he ran to, when getting from ruck to ruck. Not a lot of wasted space and time. He really did hustle from one to the next. And that's like one thing that I don't like seeing, and this is like a personal thing of mine, is slow halfbacks that take their time relying on a forward pack that he knows that can bash it up, but they just take their time because they know that they've got that in them, and then they just call another, just like another hit up, go from the ruck, just like take another one while he makes his way there. That those to me kind of annoy me when I know that they should be getting there. It's like I just can't stand that kind of stuff. And so the way that Will followed his pack around, he was just always up with them, and that's always kind of something that I really liked about it whenever I watched him. Colin Brady Latham is probably the one that nobody really knows. Pukekohe has not lost a game this year. They beat Manuel high school. Cohen is the captain, and he's another guy that I think that if he had, depending on the big team that he played for, he would have a lot of success being at those bigger schools. He would have a bigger name. He would have a bigger, a bigger platform to show who and what he can do. But he led that team to a perfect season this year, beating a big team like Manuel, beating Rose Hill College twice with really good margins, and the fact that I think in a bigger team, like you put him into Hamilton Boys, and everyone will be saying this guy's got to be one of the best in the country. If you put him into King's College, he's going to be the best guy in the country. If you put him into, flipping Silverstream, and you look at him, you go, yeah, like this guy's, he's the one that you want to look at. And so he's one of those guys. Cohen's like one of those guys that I think just needs to be seen, and I've seen him 7 times this year. Once live, all the other times I've seen live streams of him, and just thoroughly enjoyed his game and the way that he played. And so, to me, he's one that I think a lot of people should go and have a look at. Go find out what he's like, and just see what I'm talking about, because he's worth it. He really is worth it. Don't you gotta get rid of the fact that he plays for Pukekohe. You got to get rid of that fact that he plays for Pukekohe. All right, so that's just not one. Just focus on what he does, his decisions he makes, and this is kind of how I watch the games too. I kind of don't see the uniforms. Like, that's why I always watch games 2 or 3 times, is because I don't really see the uniforms. I watch the game for watching the game, write all my notes out, and then I watch specific players. And so when you go and watch Pukekohe, just watch him. Just watch and see what he does and how he does it. And I'm telling you, you're going to have a different perspective on how good this guy actually is. So those are my top 5, right? The ones that just missed out, and this was like probably the spot that everyone is probably worried about. This is his 5th spot, or 4th and 5. The 4 and 5 spot was the ones that I kind of jumbled around a bit. But Riley Williams from Auckland Grammar was 1. To me, Riley's just a better fullback than he is a halfback, but he played halfback all this year. He's a young year 13, but I don't think he's going to come back. Miley Murphy from Hamilton Boys High School is another one, and just a really, maybe one of the best passers in the country. Just a really tidy, nice pass, but also well versed in what he's supposed to do in his core roles. He was another one that I had in mind. Jacob Rauhihi Collins from Palmy Boys was the other one. And seeing him from last year to this year and just how much he actually really developed as a player, just really enjoyed the way that he played, just really fast and nippy and sort of got into it with guys. And then Te Taiwhanga Timoco Tangaroa is the other one from St. John's Hamilton that I think is probably and talking about defense, he's probably the best defender out of everybody on this list. Definitely the most aggressive one out of everybody on this list that I had, and that's kind of what I liked about him too, and I still like about him. And I think if you look at these guys that I've selected, and you kind of look at it in terms of the Chiefs region, if there was a Chiefs team, Cohen, Miley, and Te Taiwhanga are the three guys that I think that they're going to have to decide who goes in and where. And for me, just Cohen would be that guy. I would understand if they picked other guys, but to me, Cohen's that guy. And like I said at the beginning of this, the fact that the halfback class this year isn't as strong as it has been in past years. One thing that is kind of obviously with Ben coming back, and if Ben carries on the way that he's played, he'll be the number one, halfback to choose from next year. But next year's lot of halfbacks is going to be such a hard battle for everybody. So if you're a halfback coming back next year, and you think about sort of like the head-to-head battle of who you've got within your region, it's going to be a pretty hard one for you to sort of find an easy game to kind of rest when you think about head-to-heads. I mean, obviously Ben's coming back, but the other ones that I was kind of looking at is like, Topia Barracliff, he's young enough to come back. I don't know if he's come back or not, but he's young enough to come back. But Moody Stewart from Scots College is one that I really like and have liked for a while. Eddie Clayton is probably the other one who I think should have started at halfback, and Riley Williams should have went to fullback for Auckland Grammar. So Eddie would have been the other one there. Charm Tuala is another one from De La Salle that I really like. Jewels Baker is another one that I like too from Mags, who is still raw talent, just little things that he needs to fix up, but is not like far away from something that we're not. He's not so far away from what we want as a halfback. And so like even these boys from Auckland Grammar, from Auckland, the Auckland region, are always going to have this hard battle, because if you got Eddie, Charm, Jewels, the other one is Te Toru Carruthers from St. Kennigan's is the other guy at halfback, and all these guys are going to be really tough halfbacks, and so it's going to be a hard one for those guys in Auckland when it comes from head-to-head battles and sort of every single game, because all the halfbacks are really good. Cade Manuel is a guy that I really like as well from Fielding High School, and he's going to be one of the top guys to watch out for next year. And then Devon Supawanga from Wellington College is the other one that I really, really like, and I really, really think that another year at this, he's going to be sort of one to watch out for. Him and Moody are probably going to have some really good battles together at that halfback position. And I think, obviously it's a benefit. So all these guys that are halfbacks returning and their first fives are also returning with them are always going to have are always going to be a step ahead, because that combination's already built. The combination's already going to go. They, each other's tendencies and how they play and what they like and don't like are already going to be there and are already going to be learned. And so they won't have to worry about that side of things. So, guys like Cade, Manuel, and Devon, it's already going to be set for those guys. They're already going to have those. If Topia comes back, he's going to be another one. All these guys are going to have that. They're always going to be a step ahead. Charm's another one, Tuala, who's going to benefit from that too. And just, I know that it's been weak this year in terms of halfbacks, but next year is going to be solid. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so competitive. And so all you fellas that are coming back next year, just be ready. And these are just guys that I've just been talking about in terms of year 12s that I like. These aren't all the year 12s that played first team rugby at halfback that I named. These are just ones that I've seen and that I've liked. I didn't even talk about the year 11s because the year 11s have a few kids there who, if they catch up, they're gonna be jumping some of these guys too, and it happens every year. I mean, Donovan's kind of proven that too, and it happens every year as well because we got a bunch of year 12s that always get picked for rep teams, high rep teams like the regional ones like Blues and Chiefs and all that kind of stuff, and then a lot of them that make New Zealand secondary schools or New Zealand Barbarians too. But have a think about it, have a watch, go check out some of the players that I've talked about. Think it in your mind, get it all going. But next year's the year. Next year's going to be the year that it's just going to be a hard one. Oh, the other one that I forgot too was Josh Allpress from Whanganui Collegiate. He's another kid that I like. Got a little bit to go, but he's like another kid that I like too. But that's me, Herschel from High School Top 200. Peace.